So let's start the fresh chapter, that is group 16 elements, children. Group 16 elements, which we have is oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, and polonium. First two elements are familiar to you. Oxygen, sulfur, selenium. Next one is tellurium. Next one is polonium. These group 16 elements are also called as chalcogens, where chalcum means ore, genesis means forming or synthesizing. Most of the metals which are available in the form of ores, those ores are oxides, sulfides, sulfates, and sulfides. That is the reason, okay, these group 16 elements are also said to be chalcogens. Group 16 elements are also said to be chalcogens. Next, if you observe that occurrence, of course, oxygen is the most abundant element. Oxygen is the most abundant element in Earth crust. Oxygen is most abundant element in Earth crust. So if you observe why it is called as most abundant element in the Earth crust, in the sense it is available in the form of metal oxides. Most of the metals are available in the form of oxides. That is the reason it is the most abundant element in the Earth crust, and it's around 46 by mass, 46% by mass in the Earth crust. But whereas in the atmosphere, it's around 21% by volume in the atmosphere. But most of this oxygen is available in the form of oxides as well as in the form of allotrope of oxygen, that is nothing but ozone. Ozone is an allotrope of oxygen. When it comes to sulfur, second element, sulfur, it is 16th most abundant element. Sulfur is 16th most abundant element in the Earth crust. 16th most abundant element in the Earth crust. And this sulfur is available in the form of sulfates as well as sulfides majorly. Sulfates and sulfides majorly. Sulfates, if you observe with children, MgSO4.7H2O, magnesium sulfate, which is also called as Epsom salt, as well as calcium sulfate, hydrated calcium sulfate, which is also called as gypsum, also said to be gypsum, BaSO4, which is also called as barytes. In the form of barytes also it can be available. Sulfur, even it is available in the form of sulfides also. Sulfides in the sense PbS, which is called as galena. In metallurgical name is galena, and ZnS, it's zinc sulfide, which is also said to be zinc blende. As well as CuFeS2. It is nothing but copper pyrites. Whereas selenium, tellurium, polonium, these are very less abundant in Earth crust. So this is about occurrence and abundance of group 16 elements. First one is electronic configuration. For sake of convenience, I am writing it as Ec, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, polonium. What is the atomic number? 8, 16, 34, 52, 84. 8 plus 8, 16, 16 plus 18, 34, 34 plus 18, 52, 52 plus 32, 84. Electronic configuration, if you observe it, helium 2s2, 2p4. Next, neon 3s2, 3p4. Next, argon 4s2, 4p4. Next, krypton. So actually here you will get it a 3d10, 4s2, 4p4, and the krypton 4d10, 5s2, 5p4. Next, for polonium, xenon 4f14, 5d10, 6s2, 6p4. Same configuration, it is applicable even for the, what you can say, group 17 elements, but you'll get 5 there, 2p5, 3p5, 4p5. Same configuration. So from all of these elements, if you observe the outermost electronic configuration, right? So general electronic configuration of group 16 elements can be given as ns2np4. It is having 6 valence electrons. It is having 6 valence electrons. Configuration is ns2np4 having 6 valence electrons in the, these two are lone pairs and these two are unpaired electrons. And second property we are going to talk about, it is atomic and ionic radii. Both they behave in similar manner. Atomic and ionic radii. As we know, down the group from oxygen to polonium, down the group, if you observe it, size increases as number of cells increases. As number of cells increases, so distance between the nucleus and outermost orbit increases. That's the reason size also increases. And third one we have ionization enthalpy. Third one we have ionization enthalpy. You can write it as IER IP. But we know the relation between ionization enthalpy and size. Both ionization enthalpy and size are inversely proportional to each other. So what we can say that down the group ionization enthalpy decreases as size increases down the group. But when we compare group 15 and group 16 elements, children, so group 16 elements have low ionization enthalpy. They have a low ionization enthalpy than group 15 elements. So that group 15 elements, it can be explained based on, it is due to. So what is the reason?
Repulsion, sir.
Yeah, it is due to.
But 15th is half filled, sir.
Yeah. It is due to half-filled stable electronic configuration. It is due to half-filled stable electronic configuration. Because of half-filled stable electronic configuration, group 15 elements will have high ionization enthalpy in comparison to group 16 elements. That is a second property can be given. Fourth property, electronegativity. Fourth property, I can give it as electronegativity. You know that electronegativity is inversely proportional to size. Down the group, what is happening to the size? Size is increasing. Down the group, size increases. So obviously, electronegativity decreases. Since size increases, right? Because of size, increase in size, electronegativity decreases. And one of the most important point here, oxygen is second highest electronegative element among all the elements. It is the second highest electronegative element after fluorine. Fluorine is the highest electronegative element and oxygen is the second highest electronegative element. And next important property we have is electron gain enthalpy. Electron gain enthalpy, which I can indicate it as delta H easy or electron affinity. But generally, if you observe it down the group, if you observe it, same like electronegativity, electron gain enthalpy decreases. Electron gain enthalpy decreases regularly if you observe it, like oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, okay, polonium if you observe it. So from top to bottom, oxygen to polonium if you observe it, that electron gain enthalpy decreases. That means oxygen is supposed to have high electron gain enthalpy compared to other elements. But here if you observe the point, oxygen has least electron gain enthalpy. Oxygen has least electron gain enthalpy than other elements in the group. Why this oxygen is having least electron gain enthalpy than other elements in the group? In the sense, it is due to small size. It is due to small size and interelectronic repulsions. It is due to small size and interelectronic repulsions. Because of the small size and interelectronic repulsions, if you observe that oxygen, which is having two lone pairs here, and it is also having the two lone pairs here. So these electrons can undergo repulsions. Due to the small size and high interelectronic repulsions, oxygen should have low electron gain enthalpy. That's why order of the electron gain enthalpy, if you write it for group 16 elements, order of the electron gain enthalpy can be given as sulfur greater than, selenium greater than, tellurium greater than, polonium greater than oxygen. It's a very, very important question for JEE. Order of electron gain enthalpy. Order of electron gain enthalpy as given as sulfur is having highest negative electron gain enthalpy compared to other elements. Oxygen is having the least electron gain enthalpy. It is due to the smaller size and interelectronic repulsions. And next property can be given as metallic and non-metallic character. Metallic and non-metallic character. Metallic and non-metallic character, if you observe it, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, and polonium. Oxygen and sulfur are examples of non-metals. Oxygen and sulfur are examples of non-metals. Selenium and tellurium are examples of metalloids. Polonium is an example of metal, but it is a radioactive metal, moreover. It is an example of a radioactive metal. So it is metallic and non-metallic character can be given. So one of the radioactive element which is there in group 16 is polonium. And next we have melting and boiling points. Another important property, physical property, that is melting and boiling points. We can write it as MP and PPs. But down the group, if you observe it, as we know, boiling point is directly proportional to the molar mass. We have already given. As molar mass increases, van der Waals attractions also increases. Then boiling point also supposed to increase. Of course, down the group, if you observe it, Down the group from oxygen to tellurium. Oxygen to tellurium, melting point and boiling point. Melting point and boiling point increases, and then to polonium. And then to polonium decreases. And then to polonium decreases. So from oxygen to tellurium, if you observe it, melting and boiling point increases. That is because of increase in molar mass slowly. From tellurium to polonium, suppose increases there also because molar mass should be high. Molar mass is high in the sense polonium supposed to have high melting and boiling point compared to other elements, but here polonium is having low melting point and boiling point. Why? Why it is happening? If you observe the electronic configuration of polonium in the previous board, there is an intervention of 4f and 5d electrons. So there is intervention of 4f and 5d electrons completely filled, and f and d orbitals are there in case of polonium. They can offer pore screening effect, because when they offer pore screening effect, the nuclear charge increases on 6s electrons. These 6s electrons do not involve in bond formation. The 6s electrons do not involve in bond formation due to inert pair effect. Only 6p electrons are involved in bond formation. That's it. That is the reason if they exhibit oxidation state of +4 and +6, for polonium, +4 is more stable than +6. So when +4 is more stable than +6, in the sense it can form 4 covalent bonds, but remaining elements have the ability to form 6 covalent bonds. Of course, oxygen exception, right? The sulfur, selenium, tellurium, I'm talking about it. They can form 6 covalent bonds, but polonium can form only 4 covalent bonds. As number of covalent bonds increases, attractions also increases, then melting and boiling points also increases. But here, polonium melting point decreases. It is due to inert pair effect. It is due to inert pair effect. Number of covalent bonds formed for polonium, if you consider it, number of covalent bonds formed decreases. Number of covalent bonds formed decreases than the other elements. Because of that, melting and boiling points decreases for polonium. Same reason is applicable when you give it for group 15 elements for bismuth. That is the last element. Nitrogen to antimony, it increases, but antimony bismuth, if you observe, melting and boiling points decreases. There also intervention of d and f orbitals. Because of inert pair effect, number of electrons which are involved in the bond formation will be less. So that is the reason covalent bonds formed will be less. So boiling and melting point also decreases, right? So please make a note on it. Next property 7, that is 8. You can give it as elemental state. Elemental state. Oxygen, which is familiar to you, it is diatomic, which is existing as O2. Atomicity is equal to 2. But remaining elements, if you observe remaining elements, are octatomic. Remaining elements are octatomic, like S8, Te8, Se8, like that. But why it is happening? The reason you have to know that. If I write O double bond O, oxygen can form double bond, sigma pi. This pi bond is formed by overlap of p orbital of oxygen, p orbital of oxygen. This type of pi bond is p pi bond. Oxygen can form p pi bond very easily. Oxygen can form p pi bond very easily due to small size. But other elements cannot. Other elements cannot due to large size. due to large size. See, because of the larger size, they do not have ability to form pi bonds. Generally, pi bond is weaker. You know that pi bond is weaker. If it is a smaller size atom, that overlap some extent it will be effective. Sideways overlap, partial overlap. But if size of the atom is increasing, in that case, effective overlap may not take place due to that larger size. So it cannot form p pi bond. Other elements. That's why we do not have S2, we do not have SC2, we do not have Te2. Instead of it, they can form single bonds easily. Instead of it, they can form single bonds easily. That's why they will be existing in the form of S8, Te8, Se8. They have a complex structures. They have complex structures. But suppose if I say S8, S8 is having puckered ring structures. Of course, we'll talk about it later. Just one line I'm giving it. Puckered ring structures it can form. Now, other factor. Sulfur can form p pi d pi bonds, but oxygen cannot form. This is well known to you, right? Oxygen do not have
Yes.
vacant d orbitals, but whereas sulfur has vacant d orbitals. That is the reason oxygen cannot form p pi d pi bonds, but sulfur can form p pi d pi bonds, right? So that point also as a note I can give it. Oxygen cannot form p pi d pi bonds, but other elements can. But other elements can. It is due to absence of other elements can. It is due to absence of vacant d orbitals in oxygen. Vacant d orbitals in oxygen. So that is a point can be given in for elemental state can be taken. And next one we have catenation. Next one we have catenation. See, regarding catenation, they will not give it to you in NCERT, but for JEE point of view, we have to discuss, right? Catenation, you know that the ability of an atom of the same element joining together or linked together to form chains or rings is known as catenation. And that catenation ability, if you consider it, catenation ability is low for oxygen. Is low for oxygen, but catenation ability is high for sulfur. High for sulfur. But whenever if they ask catenation ability, why it is high, why it is low, in the sense, the reason can be explained based on bond strength. Bond strength of SS, sulfur is higher. Bond strength of sulfur is higher than oxygen. We require around 220 kilojoule per mole of energy to break SS bond. But whereas for oxygen, we require around 140 kilojoule per mole. Bond strength is very, very less. It's very weak bond will be formed. Because of that, it cannot form chain-like structures. But when it comes to oxygen to sulfur, the catenation ability increases. But sulfur to next, when we talk about remaining elements, that catenation ability decreases. I can write this as oxygen to sulfur ability increases, and sulfur to polonium ability decreases. Size is increasing. Size of the atom increasing. Effective bond cannot be formed over there. So because of that, what is happening? Ability is decreasing. So if you see the examples of the compounds which are formed due to catenation, like I can take H2S2, right? H2S2, H2S3 we have. H2S4 we have for sulfur. But for oxygen, if you consider it, we have H2O2. Oxygen, we have H2. Actually, this formation of SS bond, that SS bond is very, very important in biological systems and occurs in proteins and enzymes especially. In proteins and enzymes, that SS bond is there, that we can understand in structure of proteins. I'll highlight that point there.
Sir, H2 and H2S3 and H2S4, 3 sulfurs are there. Same it is, sir.
Yeah, by mistake. Thank you, Chetan. It's
Then why nitrogen is not exhibiting catenation, sir?
why not? Nitrogen can exhibit catenation. So all these are of atomic and physical properties, including the catenation. Please copy it. Next. Oxidation states. Next is oxidation states. So they can exhibit, different oxidation states, children. They can exhibit -2, +2, +4, +6. All these are the variable oxidation states can be exhibited by various oxidation states exhibited by the group 16 elements. When it comes to oxygen, it can exhibit -2, it can exhibit -1, it can exhibit fractional oxidation state also. -2 in oxides, -1 in peroxides, -1/2, that is in superoxides. That is in superoxides, right? So oxides can be given it as O2 minus, peroxides can be given it as O2 2 minus, superoxides is O2 minus, right? And even oxygen can exhibit positive oxidation state also. Positive oxidation state, it is possible in OF2 as well as in O2F2 because it is combined with most electronegative element. That is the reason. So oxygen here, oxidation number x minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to +2. Here 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. It is +1. It can exhibit positive oxidation state with fluorine containing compounds. Regarding oxidation states of sulfur and other elements will be continued in the next episode. Until then, okay, that's all for this session.
So next period we will not start with biomolecules, so
No.